Hello, algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here, and a quick factoring check video.
Alright, here we go. We're going to factor by grouping. And remember, the way we tell we need to factor by grouping is when there's 4 terms. And I'm going to group the 4 terms into 2 groups. That's why it's called factor by grouping. The only rule for factoring by grouping is when you put them in the groups, you have to make sure there's a GCF. Okay? Now, I love the fact that I've got a positive and a negative and a positive and negative. But I could also say, hey, I want to put the 6xy with the 8x and the minus 15y with the minus 20 because I see those GCFs more readily. I think I'm going to do this one both ways. So first I'm going to do it this way. And remember, when you do that, you have to grab the sign and you put a plus in between the quantities. If you don't put a plus in between the quantities, you just turned it into a double distribution problem, which you can't just go changing problems. All right, I'm going to look for the GCF of this first quantity, and I think it's going to be 3y. So I'm going to factor out a 3y, right? And that will leave me a 2x minus a 5. Yep. And then over here, I think my GCF is 4. So I'm going to, got that plus sign, going to factor out a 4. And when I do that, I'll have a 2x minus a 5. I like that. Remember, there's 2 multiplication problems here, right? Do you see them? James, I need you to quit moving, okay? Either stay on the bed or off the bed. All right. Sorry, my son is here, as you can tell. So I'm going to do 3y. And it's being multiplied by 2x minus 5. And then over here I have a 4 being multiplied by 2x minus 5. Did you hear me repeat myself? I said the same factor twice, didn't I? I said the 2x minus 5. It's another GCF. Yeah, factoring by grouping is just GCFing 3 times. So I'm going to pull out this 2x minus 5, factor it out, and when I do that, what's left here? Well, a 3y. What's left here? A positive 4. And there you go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and redo this problem because remember I mentioned the one GCF looked easier to me. So I'm going to try it differently, but you're going to see I'm going to get the same answer. Okay, so here we go. Let me see. If you're wondering what all the noise is, my daughter's hyper excited. She just watched, I don't know, episode 1 of Supernatural season 1. Anyway, that's what you hear in the background. All right, 6xy plus 8x because I see an obvious GCF, and then I have a minus 15y minus 20. Now there's a real specific reason I'm doing this. By the way, you might also hear some slurping noises. My son is eating caramels and apples as he lays in bed watching me make a video. Of course, he's not watching me because he's got his doopy facing me, but that's beside the point. All right, so it is fully clothed, so don't get any. Anyway, let's move on to the algebra. All right, the GCF here I think is 2. Uh-oh. Ooh, I don't like this. Oh, there's why I don't like it, because I wrote it down wrong. Silly, Mr. Lawrence. Okay, so that's supposed to be an 8x, not an 8. Yeah, that changes things a little bit. So let me write that as 6xy plus 8x. I knew something didn't look right. Okay. So I'm going to factor out a 2x from this quantity here. And that'll leave me a 3y plus a 4. And that looks familiar, doesn't it? Now here, you might be thinking the GCF is 5. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But you notice how they're both negative? I'm going to pull out a negative 5. Yeah, I'm going to pull out a negative 5. Because in the quantity, I want it to look like 3y plus 4. And if I don't pull out the negatives, I'm going to get a negative 3y minus 4. So now that I'm pulling out a negative 5, I'm going to get a 3y here and a positive 4. And there we go. And look, I have 2 factors, 2x times 3y plus 4. Over here I have 2 factors, a 5 times 3y plus 4. Did I repeat myself? I sure did. A 3y plus 4. I'll factor it out. It's the GCF. And I'll be left with a 2x from the first set, and the second set will leave me with a minus 5. And there you go. I get the same exact answer. All right, I'd love for you to try 2 problems, and then when you're done, there's the first one, okay? And here's the second one. go ahead and pause the video, and then I'll show you my solutions. Alright, so if you're watching, I'm getting ready to do negative 6xw plus 21x plus 8w minus 28. And, you know, it bothers me that the negatives are going different ways. I think I'm going to go with a negative 6xw plus 8w. And then over here, I'm going to have a 21x minus 28. And I know I said it bothered me that the negatives were going opposite ways, but I noticed that the 21 is less than 28, and that 6 is less than 8. So I decided to leave it like that, and I'm just going to factor out a negative when I do this. So I'm going to group this together, group these two together, grabbing that plus sign, put a plus in between. Now, when I pull out this GCF here, it looks like it's going to be a 2w. I'm going to pull out a negative 2w. And that'll give me a 3x minus 4, right? And then here, I think my GCF is a 7. So I'm going to pull out a 7, and I'm going to get a 3x minus a 4. There we go. And notice I have a 3x minus 4 common. And we're going to go 3x minus 4. And then I have times the quantity. And you could have negative 2w plus 7, but I'm going to write it as 7 minus 2w. I usually like my lead term to be positive, but anyway, either way wouldn't matter if you went negative 2w plus 7. It's just more a personal thing here. Don't feel like you have to write a 7 minus 2w. You don't. It just looks better to me, but it's not better. Okay, it's just kind of like a pet peeve. I don't like it the other way. And so I don't want to make you do it that way. All right, hopefully you've done this one already. If you haven't, go ahead and pause the video and give it a shot. Yeah, I think I'm going to group them as is. Okay, remember, grab that sign and then stick a plus sign between them. All right, so here looks like there's an x that's common to both, and I think only a 2, so I'm going to pull out a 2x. And I'm going to be left with a 9ab plus a 4c. Here, I'm going to pull out a negative. Definitely going to pull out a negative. Goodbye, James. Yeah, my son's leaving. I guess he got bored watching me. Now he knows how you feel. All right. I'm going to pull out a 5. Right? And I think I'm going to pull out a yz. A yz. Right? Okay, and so when I pull out the yz, the negative 5, I'm going to have a 4c plus 9ab. Oh, darn. Seems to me that I've got a mistake or something, because I have this factor, the 2x, and then, of course, I have the 9ab plus 4c, but over here I have this minus 5yz, but then I have this 4c plus 9b, and I did them all different because they're different, aren't they? What's that, Morgan? What? They're not different? Get out of here. You're telling me, Morgan, you're telling me that I should have highlighted this red one here, this 4c plus 9ab, in blue because it's the same as the other one? Are you sure? Oh, now Jared's in the act. He's yelling the commutative property at me. Mr. Chismar, would you learn some manners, please? All right, so I'm going to pull out 9ab plus 4c, because they are absolutely right. Morgan and Jared are correct. You need to have a plate for that. You're going to get crumbs all over the bed. All right, and then it's going to be times 2x minus 5yz. All right, that's it for your factor check video. Hopefully factoring by grouping is not a big deal for you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Have a good night, everybody.